I reworked some of the most popular killer and survivor perks on this list today, so make sure you stick around to the end and let me know in the comments what your opinions are on these changes. What is going on, guys? My name is Kyle and welcome back to another Dead by Daylight video. This is part 4 of the perk rework series where I take different perks and rework them to make them better or more balanced or more fun. If you guys enjoy this video and want me to make more like this, feel free to drop a like and subscribe down below. And if you want to play with me, I do open lobbies on my Twitch, so go drop a follow there. Link in the description. Anyway, guys, let's get right into the list. We're gonna start off with survivor perks today, and the first perk is going to be deliverance. So currently for deliverance, you have to unhook somebody before it activates. And once it activates, the first time you are on a hook, you are able to unhook yourself with a 100% guarantee that you'll get off. Unfortunately, there is a hidden feature with this perk that's not actually listed in the perk's description. It basically reveals the aura to the killer for the first 10 seconds of the game so that they go straight to you first. It's a really annoying feature and a lot of people don't know about it, so I wanted to buff this perk a little bit. If you are within 16 meters of a survivor on the hook, their self-unhook attempts will succeed 100% of the time. So basically, if you're within 16 meters of somebody on the hook, they're able to unhook themselves, guaranteed. This will be a good anti-camping perk to prevent the killer from grabbing you if you're trying to get a save, and I feel like this will allow for some really cool plays. The next survivor perk on our list is going to Detective's Hunch. As of right now, this perk is a bit underrated. However, I do think it could be buffed just a tad to make it on par with some of the other information perks in this game. So each time a generator is completed, the auras of any gens, chests, or totems within 64 meters of you are revealed until the next time you interact with a generator. Because hex perks are so extremely strong right now, Detective's Hunch would be a really good way to just go around the map and cleanse all hex perks, because you'd be able to see their auras until you touch a gen. However, this is very balanced because this means that 1/4 of the survivors would not be working on gens, so it's kind of like built-in slowdown for the killer. I think this is a fantastic idea, and I'm really surprised that they haven't changed it to this already. Okay, next up on the list, we have Technician. So I feel like Technician is a little bit overpowered right now. In its current state, whenever you fail a skill check, it prevents the generator from exploding, but it gives you an extra regression penalty. This is really good, and the game is already so survivor-sided that I wanted to nerf this perk a little bit. Failing a skill check reveals your aura to the killer for 5 seconds and reduces the generator's progress by 12, 11, or 10% depending on which perk tier you have. This will make it so that you really want to hit your skill checks or else you're going to be pretty much screwed. Okay, next up on the list, we have Decisive Strike. As of this current state, Decisive Strike was absolutely nerfed to the ground. It used to be extremely balanced, but everybody on Twitter started complaining about it for some reason, so then they nerfed it. But because this game is so killer-sided, I wanted to give it a buff. After being hooked, you get a skill check. If you hit the good success zone, your Decisive Strike will be activated until the next time you are picked up. And if you hit a great success zone, all other survivors will also receive Decisive Strike as a 5th perk slot for the rest of the match. Tunneling has been a huge problem within the DVD community lately, and this is the only perk that prevents tunneling, so I feel like it should at least actually help you and the team to prevent tunneling. All right, the final survivor perk that we're going to rework today is going to be Borrowed Time. So unfortunately, if there is a camping Bubba, Borrowed Time does basically nothing, so I wanted to buff it to prevent these types of situations. If you unhook someone while you're in the killer's terror radius, you also gain the endurance status effect, and the person being unhooked gains the endurance status effect until they interact with anything on the map. So you know how like Decisive Strike will deactivate if you cleanse a totem or do a gen or anything like that? It's basically the same thing for Borrowed Time, except it lasts infinitely until you do that. Because Borrowed Time is the only anti-tunneling perk, it'll just prevent those situations where the killer waits out your borrowed time to try to tunnel you. All right, we're moving on to the killer perks now. The first one on the list is going to A Nurse's Calling. Nurses used to be so good, but so many perks on the survivor side had made it kind of go down in the ranks a little bit. Like for example, people who run Boon Circle of Healing and Boon Shadow Step, if they're healing within their circle of healing, the Shadow Step blocks their auras from being read by the killer, so nurses wouldn't pick that up anyway. I wanted to bring it up to the level that it used to be by giving it a buff. You can see the aura of a survivor that is healing or being healed anywhere on the map, so it does not matter if they are within range. This will be like a scuffed version of barbecue, so you'll be able to track survivors a little more efficiently. Aura rating and information doesn't really do anything for the killer anyway, so I don't think this would be too overpowered, but we'll just allow him to kind of know where people are. Plus, the game is so survivor-sided anyway, I feel like the killers need a little bit of a buff. Next up on the list is going to Corrupt Intervention. Corrupt Intervention blocks the 3 furthest generators from you when you spawn for a couple of minutes. This sounds pretty good on paper, but then if you think about it, the survivors can literally just go to the other gens and just not work on the ones that are corrupted. So in order to buff it a little bit, I came up with a really good idea. Corrupt Intervention is not deactivated until the survivors complete 2 generators. This will just make it so that the survivors have to work on the gens that are not corrupted to give you a little bit of early game slowdown because gen rushing is way too overpowered. I think this buff would be really good because killers don't have enough slowdown perks and they need more. All right, the next killer perk on our list is going to Noed. Noed is so weak right now, and in my opinion, if a killer is not able to get any kills before the last gen pops, I feel like they deserve to win the game. So for this perk, I wanted to buff it so that it's no longer a hex perk and it just immediately activates when the last gen pops. All right, we have 2 more perks on this list. If you've made it this far, go down in the comments and put an eggplant emoji. The next killer perk on the list is going to Hex Ruin. You know when you're playing killer and you have Ruin on and survivors literally spawn right next to it? That is probably one of the most frustrating things in this game, especially if you're playing like Nurse or Blight, because those killers literally require Ruin to do well with. I have a buff that's kind of similar to the Corrupt Intervention buff, but basically the Hex Ruin totem doesn't appear until at least 2 generators are completed. This will prevent those situations where survivors are literally able to find your totem right off the bat. So you're going to be able to at least have a little bit of time before your Ruin gets cleansed, which can be extended with Undying for just a little bit of extra time. I know Ruin is kind of an above average perk. I just feel like it needs that little bit of shove to make it an actual good perk. And finally, we are on the last killer perk, and this is Monstrous Shrine. I've noticed a lot of people using this perk lately because it's so good. For those of you who don't know, it basically makes the hook progress faster when survivors are in the basement. And because it's so easy to hook survivors in the basement when you're playing killer, especially if you have other perks like Agitation or Iron Grasp, there's essentially no counterplay to this perk, and I don't think that's very fun for the survivors. Having counterplay is one of the most important things in any game ever, because if you don't feel like your game is being dictated by your skill, then the game just doesn't feel good to play. So I didn't really have any unique ideas for this perk, but I just wanted to reduce the numbers a little bit. So instead of the sacrifice progression being increased by 9%, I wanted it to be increased by 4%. I wanted to decrease the self-unhook difficulty from 15% to 9%, and then I wanted to decrease the self-unhook penalty from 9% to 4%. This will put Monstrous Shrine in check with the other perks and will probably take it out of the meta, but honestly, so many people have been using this perk that we really need a new meta. Like, it's just, our meta is so bad right now. That's gonna wrap it up for today's video. If you did enjoy it and have any rework ideas, feel free to let me know down in the comments below. Also, I have a Discord server, so if you want to ask me any questions or talk to me or find other friends to play Dead by Daylight with, the link is in the description. We are almost to 2,000 members, which is absolutely insane. And if you did enjoy it, feel free to drop a like and subscribe if you're new. And I think that's all I have for you today, so I will see you all in the next one. Peace.